So I'm going to go back to my tuner here because this is going to help me localize this problem, I think. Sometimes the tuner can tell you things that you're having a hard time hearing. And sometimes it doesn't. So I'm hearing something here that the tuner is not hearing, because it's telling me that all these pitches are the same, and they are obviously not. Okay, I know what it is. All right, so I'm having a little bit of trouble with this bottom head here, so I'm just going to get a little rough with it. I just want to make sure that the thing is really stretched out right and that I'm not getting any kind of weird resonance from like an unequal stretching of the head. So I'm going to kind of lay into this thing here and really push on it. And some of what this is telling me, I'm able to tell from the pressure that I'm putting on it if the head is looser in some spots than others. And it's also making sure that it's pulling down on the bearing edge and really getting seated well there. So now I'm just going to kind of start this over again. All right, so now that I stretch that head, it's really lost, it's really pitched down. Some of that will come back, so the head's actually going to tighten up as it sits. So I don't want to tighten this up too much. It's already starting to come back. So I think that's about as good as that one's going to get. I would, if I was messing with this drum some more, I would be just putting it on the kit and playing it, just because it's giving me some issues. They're not terrible. Probably you wouldn't really hear it as the whole kit's being played. It's something that I would continue to work on as I was playing it and as the head got older and kind of seated in. That bottom head is going to be on that drum for 6 months. And so if that whole issue on that head doesn't go away within a week or two, then that head needs to come off and we need to get a new head on there, because there's something wrong with that head. But that's why it's very important as you're putting new heads on to follow the procedure as closely as you can and to really pay attention to the details, because potentially you can make a mistake on the head when you're getting it seated and you get your initial tension on it, that you could ruin every head that you put on the drum. And we can't be throwing away heads all the time just because they have some kind of weird issue in them because they didn't get put on the drum correctly. So it's really the most important part of the process is getting the head seated evenly on the drum, making sure that the bearing edge is clean, making sure that your initial tension on the hoop is even and not pulled off to one side or anything like that. And if you take your time through that part and get that part right, it makes everything that comes after it a lot easier and a lot faster. And then as you sort of get into the habit of it, it becomes really natural to do it. That way, when you do get a problem head, it's a lot easier to narrow it down to the head has a problem because you know that you did it correctly, because you followed your normal procedure, you did everything exactly the same way that you always do it. It's a drum that you've worked with a dozen times. It's never had this problem before, and now all of a sudden it's having this one problem on this one head. Then it's a lot easier to say, okay, that head's a problem. And so that's sort of why it's important to go through all these steps. So I'm going to leave that drum alone for now. It'll get played, it'll get tuned some more. If it's not better in a couple of weeks, then it's something that'll have to be addressed again.